Hey guys, how you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Okay.
Just sorting it out.
He's not hot.
Just get in there.
Okay.
No? Too deep? All good.
Okay.
Not too deep. Rolling in the deep.
I started that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let's all grow up, shall we?
Yeah, let's.
Come on.
That was a good
Jamie.
start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
I
Your
mean,
2 minutes is up. Thank you so much.
okay, I'm done. So first of all, congratulations on this wonderful season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So how did it feel to be welcomed into the Upside Down?
How does it feel? It feels great. I think when you join a family like this, it's initially pretty daunting, but everyone was so kind and welcoming, and it's a very crazy situation. I think we both aren't used to it. It still feels very surreal, but it's such a gift.
So Jamie, how was it the process to bring Vecna to life?
It was a joy, first of all. It took quite a bit of time. We started, I think, the fittings for Vecna in sort of February or January of 2020. So, it took probably about a year to bring the sort of physical element of Vecna to life. In terms of character development, in a way, given the global situation that happened and that we all went through with the pandemic, we were granted more time, to prepare and to dive into our characters, which I think I can speak for both. Of us here. That we relished, we really, that's a real blessing for us. It was intense for me, and I like being intense. I like throwing myself into things as much as possible. So I loved it. It was great. It was awesome. That's all.
There's a lot of discussion about hair in the series, but I'm seeing your hair right now. Why you're not in this competition?
I know, love, because it's not in the show, unfortunately. I mean, but Sarah did an amazing job, for all of us, I think, with our hair. Mine was real. I had a perm, which the first time she did it, I freaked out over. It was terrifying. But your hair's amazing. I mean, you're up there, with Steve now for best hair.
You think so? I'd hope so. It's a pretty impressive unit.
How did you react when you first saw yourself with that hair?
Well, we actually went through quite a rigorous kind of fitting process with the wig. The brothers obviously always want to kind of lean into something that feels a little kind of crazy. So we kind of had a kind of David Bowie labyrinth kind of style initially that I kind of just couldn't get on board with. I wanted something that was kind of rooted in, like, I don't know, something of this earth, more mullety. And then I think we kind of met in the middle. But yeah, I think it was a very kind of satisfying feeling when, like, myself and Sarah felt like we kind of that's the look.
Okay. So that video of you getting the makeup done with a coffee mug went viral.
Yes.
So we know that makeup was actually a huge thing in your part, but what did it take for you to actually get into character?
Just coffee.
Just coffee.
No, I'm joking. As I said before, we were given so much time for preparation, given everything that went on. So for me, it was about, ultimately, what is Vecna's goal? What is the emotion that he is consistently feeling? He's been left alone in this space for, a number of years, stewing on his resentment and on his rage. And given all his experiences, human as well, with his parents and with Brenner and with Eleven, it was about building all of that up into that story up into a certain point, understanding the feeling in it, and then digging that feeling up and drawing on it. So, for me, I would take a couple of days before filming and just be on my own, and meditation was always very helpful, so that when I needed to, I was able to, snap into it and tap into it very, very quickly. So it was a thing that was most accessible. And that's not to say that I wasn't able to, converse with people and have a nice time on set, because I was, but I saw set and I see set a lot of the time as an opportunity. It's like being on stage, it's a play. So the moment you walk on there, it's I'd like to wear it. And once we kind of knew where we were at in the scene, and the emotion was kind of floating around the room, and that vibration was there, I think we all kind of felt like, okay, cool, now we've got it. We can kind of relax a little bit more, but those first few moments are so vital and for me as an actor, so important. And, you know, with Millie, we get an amazing performance out of Millie. This is a prime example. What you're seeing in episode 9, her reaction to Vecna, is her literal reaction to Vecna. She had never seen me before in that makeup. Really? Never. And she's crying, and that's exactly who she is. And that stuff is what we hope to capture on camera because it's real. It's the real shit. Yeah.
What about you, Joseph? How was it for you to really get into character?
Well, I had kind of an easier run than Jamie. You know, it didn't take me kind of a whole morning to kind of get ready. I just kind of had some silly hair glued to my head. What was it like? I kind of, initially there were just two main differences. The fact that he was American and he was significantly younger than me. So I got a vocal coach, I lost some weight, and I kind of just did a silly voice. It's kind of...
was it easier?
It wasn't easy. It was, I think... I'd never played an American before, so I was very conscious of the fact that kind of it's really irritating for Americans when we turn up and do the thing. And it kind of, people find it really kind of irritating, so you have to kind of really earn your spot there. Yeah. So I felt that kind of that pressure slightly, but it was a joy. It was kind of, I think, but my kind of preparation was kind of the antithesis of Jamie's in a way, in the fact that I kind of felt what Eddie had to bring to the table was this sense of playfulness and this sense of spontaneity. So too much preparation would make him too heady, and he didn't need to be that. There's no way that you could approach a character like Vecna without doing all of the homework that Jamie did. You need, like, anyone would need that foundation there. But I think for the way that I saw that what Eddie needed to how he could help the Duffers was to kind of create this kind of youthful, kind of spontaneous kind of character that people would hopefully respond to. Because I think, like, with kids, we find that kind of interesting, like the fact that they're not predictable, and there's something really lovable about that. So that was kind of what I was going for.
No, it's amazing. No,
it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to know, I heard that when you first signed off to this character, you would hope to do another season. So how was it for you when you read Eddie's ending?
Oh, it was a real kick in the teeth, you know. No, it was weird. It was both feelings. I was kind of gutted that I wasn't going to be coming back, but I was also suspicious that I wasn't going to be coming back because I wasn't optioned. But I also just thought the ending is so brilliant, and I thought kind of it's such a beautiful arc that they've written for Eddie, and I thought it just felt like such a kind of opportunity and a privilege to be presented with this character and to be given the opportunity to have a pop at him. So whilst it was sad that I'm not coming back, but yeah, it was great to be him while he was there. You know?
Yeah. Music, there's a huge role in the series. I mean, Kitty Bush just went #1 with her song, and I know you're a musician. I know you play the guitar. So how music was part of your preparation and part of the series and everything when you're recording on set and everything?
Music was a huge part of it, kind of the preparation, really. I think Eddie, in that part of your life, in your adolescence, music is such a kind of important part of your life, and I think it was a huge part of how Eddie identifies in the world, in this kind of subculture that he's kind of very, very passionate about. So kind of music was something that I was kind of like constantly going back to. But what's the rest of the question? Is it?
If you heard the music on set, and if you think there's a very important role in the series,
it's hugely important for the series. But there was all of the kind of stuff that we were shooting with Gayton towards the end of episode 9, well, middle of episode 9, when we're kind of chasing the demo bats and when we're kind of stuck in the camper van. We were playing metal just in between takes and just kind of dancing and kind of trying to get kind of frenetic and kind of crazy, and so that was really, really, really helpful. And also just in terms of how it impacts the show, I think, you have this, it's such an iconic score, that kind of arpeggio at the beginning that just kind of, it's just powerful. It's such a vital part of this series, and it really kind of transcends, it elevates the whole thing, music in this show, and it does for so many others, but in a very specific way for this TV show.
Yeah, music brings us to life.
It does,
just,
you know. We need it.
Yeah. Jimmy, you have a lot of scenes with Millie Bobby Brown and Sadie Sink. How is your relationship with them, and how was it on set? How was it the first time that you get to know them?
My relationship with them is amazing. Millie, I revere, admire, and love dearly. She's become a very good friend and somebody who I hope will, be a large part of my life for many years to come. I just think she's wonderful. I knew it would be like that from the read-through. As I was talking to her in the read-through, saying the lines, she turned and looked at me in the eye, and that creates like a level of trust and of just openness and vulnerability, which as actors is basically all we're sort of trying to get to. And Sadie is amazing. She's so lovely, and I think she's a phenomenal actor, and she had such a tough, both of them had such a tough job, very different in their ways of performing, and in their character arcs this season. And Sadie particularly had had quite a sort of mind job to do. So, again, revere, admire, love. I've met their families. I just think they're great. So I was very fortunate to work with two professional, outstanding, talented people. Yeah.
Who's your favourite?
You.
Tell us. I mean, a lot of people see Vecna as a big villain, but I want to know, how do you see him, and have your idea of him changed over time when you're playing this role?
I see him as a real person, first and foremost. I see him as a real person, having had the experiences that he has had, and I understand him. I think there's some of the things that he says have a lot of truth in them. I think the idea of people presenting a false version of themselves, particularly in this age of social media and all of that kind of stuff, we do often only encounter the best parts of people's lives. And I connect with that quite a lot. So I do. I really understand him. I don't necessarily see him as the big bad. I see him as the point of conflict for this season, and for the characters that we know and love and have known and have loved for some time. So I think I always saw him as this sort of like righteous arm of justice, and I still see him as that, and I have to see him as that because that's my truth.
Yeah. So Eddie is a fan favorite all over the world. Did you expect that when you first get the role?
No, you can never have expectations in this thing. I'm delighted by the fans' response to him and how kind of people have responded to him in a way that kind of, I could never have imagined in, my wildest dreams, really. It's kind of crazy.
So Jamie, there's a lot of things about the makeup, but all the costume for was like something that wasn't helpful, and how it impacts your work physically.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very helpful, being Vecna and playing this person who's been physically transformed. To have that physical transformation on you is hugely important. And very helpful. I think, the physicality of it was something I was very aware of, in the sense that, I have an extra few inches on the top of my head. There's an extra few inches of skin, so pushing out the energy that's coming from my body through another layer of something in order for that to become the skin was something that I was fascinated by. The gait, the way he would walk, the hand alone, I've said this already, but like I would spend hours looking at my hand and imagining my fingers being longer, and just kind of planting myself on the ground with this thing on. But this sense of groundedness was always central to the character for me and central to the performance for me, because I find that the most power comes from being chosen in you know, in your movement and in your intention, particularly for a character like Vecna. Yeah, it was a lot. You know, it's quite heavy, so I had to sort of deal with that. I was very sweaty a lot of the time, but you just kind of grin and bear it, and you go through it, because ultimately the character's not sweaty, so don't be sweaty.
Okay, so the different brothers said that they already know the ending of the show. I know you can't talk about it, but what ending would be the most satisfying for you guys?
I mean, I don't know.
It was all a dream.
I think it's impossible. I couldn't speculate a satisfying ending to this show. I think kind of it would be. It's a really hard undertaking that they have to kind of really try and get right, and I have every faith that they will. But I mean, I'm thankfully not writing this thing, so I wouldn't know. I think. A happy ending would be nice, wouldn't it? You know,
A happy ending?
Yeah.
Stranger Things?
you don't think?
I'm not sure.
Well,
What do you think, Jamie?
I would hate.
know
to,
what you want.
I would hate
Yeah.
to speculate.
Yeah.
I would hate to speculate. Again, I'll echo Joseph's sentiments in the sense that it's Matt and Ross's world. We'll see what they got.
I mean, the show is setting at the 80s, and you guys are so young. Did you have to do some research about it?
Thank you for saying we're so young. I'm 33.
I'm 28.
Okay, you're young.
Yeah. What's it
You're
like
kids.
being so young? Is that what?
Did you time travel back to the 80s?
If you did research about it, about the 80s and stuff, and how people...
No, not really. I really did such little research. I looked into the Satanic Panic a little bit, and kind of I'm familiar with 80s culture to an extent, but I wasn't kind of mining the resources of the internet for kind of what it was like to be in the 80s. But the work is done for you, really, because of the amazing art department. You get there, and the detail there is kind of extraordinary. Were you kind of reading 80s newspapers and
No. I mean, aside from kind of diving into the references, you know, from Matt and Ross, in terms of what was on the page for me of 80s, you know, particularly horror genre films, you know, I didn't really have to sort of look too much into the world of the 80s, because for me, Henry I and Vecna, you know, they exist in their own time period almost. You know, it's not like Henry's out there kind of at the roller rink with his perm. So I did my own level of research into the time period, just in terms of the art that was created around that time.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
How's Brazil so far?
Lovely.
loving it.
Have you had the time to get around, to see around?
I went to Dom last night.
Oh, there's a very famous restaurant.
Yeah, still kind of piecing myself back together. I had one of the best evenings of my life. It was amazing.
What about you, Jim?
I got here last night at like midnight or whatever time it was, so I have seen the inside of this hotel thus far.
It's
so
lovely.
Apparently so. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it tomorrow. We're
It was
going
a
out.
palace before.
This hotel was a
Yes.
palace? Well, I am a queen, so that makes perfect sense.
I can be your king. So with this, I'm wrapping this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
That was fun.